This video is a film study focused on Lamar Jackson's performance and the quality of his play in the Ravens' 23-16 win over the Cleveland Browns in Week 11. I'm going to talk about the factors that led to, obviously, a diminished performance from a production standpoint. The Ravens' passing game in the last 3 weeks has been very paltry. 188 yards against Miami. Of course, we did score 28 points. 169 the next week on the road against the Minnesota Vikings. We scored 27 points. This last week, we got 23 points courtesy of the 4th and 1 touchdown run for Mark Andrews, but we only generated 167 yards through the air. Something's got to change. Got a significant amount of plays to go over here for you guys. This is on the first possession. It's a third down. This, of course, will be the flip or shovel pass to Ali. Now, we are chipping Myles Garrett initially. This is Ali's path. And then in addition, down here to the bottom side, likely is chipping the defensive end. And what that does is it kind of holds Denzel Ward's attention for just a moment. I think that they're basically in a man call to the bottom side of the screen with Ward against Likely, and then zone up to the top side. Everything that Lamar's looking for up here is totally overwhelmed from a numerical standpoint. Look at how many guys they've dropped or pushed to the field. Lamar has an opportunity here to step up a little bit, but there's pressure. You know where it's coming from. Our right-hand side, Mason Graham is beating Daniel Falele. And then Lamar, thankfully, has got those playmaking skills, almost like a point guard on the basketball court who can distribute the ball with either hand, moving in any location. I think that's what we would like to see, right? Lamar being able to get rid of the ball, distribute it to multiple guys. Right now, he's just not being given the opportunity to consistently. In this case, keeps the first drive going. Still on the first possession, and this one's very interesting. Of course, I'm sure there'll be some people that are critical of it. I'm glad that we have this option. So this is the pass where Lamar clearly could throw the ball a little bit earlier, either to Derrick Henry or Tylan Wallace. So first of all, I think he sees the inside path of the defensive end from the bottom side of the screen. We're talking about 99 here. And sometimes when we watch the film, we have to look at the progression of when things occur. Does it look like from this angle Rosengarten is regaining control of that defensive end? Sure, yeah, it actually does. But what actually occurs is Lamar starts to get out of there now because he recognizes the D-end has a path to influence his ability to throw the football. And you have to keep this in mind the whole time. Myles Garrett is to the blind side. We released Derrick Henry out in the route. There's no chip occurring. Lamar's got an internal clock already, obviously, as well he should in this matchup. The combination of a defender flashing in front of his face, this defensive end winning against Rosengarten on an inside move, and then Garrett being to the backside, the blind side, to me makes this an appropriate decision to get out of the pocket as soon as possible. Henry, we could clearly throw the ball to. Maybe, I think this is Tylan Wallace. Maybe Tylan Wallace is, this defender maybe is in the path between Lamar to Tylan Wallace. I think Lamar's looking to the top side. Late completion to Henry. This is ridiculous. I mean, the fact that you can do this against high-level professional athletes. And really, it almost looks like kind of fun dummy time where I know I can throw the ball to Henry, but I'll wait until the last possible second to see if something else develops down the field. Maybe he's too hungry in that situation. I get it. People are going to complain about it. He can do that, right? He can do that. He's able to. Should he have to? No. Our pass pro in 5-on-4 situations needs to improve for 2025 and beyond. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves of play calls, and they occur in from a progressional standpoint. So this is a third down still in the first possession, 3rd and 9, and it's a 6-man rush. Well, think about the first third down that we faced, the flip to Rasheen Ali. Lamar had time, he had to step up to create time to get that done. So now I think you've got a reaction by Jim Schwartz and the Cleveland Browns. Bringing 6-man rush, so basically routes like this one, Zay Flowers' later developing route over the middle, not available to you because the pass rush is going to be there, and you can see significant pressure brought by the Browns. There's always that fear factor, in my opinion, when you're going up against, when Myles Garrett's playing this well. And Ronnie's, given the best that he can. I know that in the past, he's been able to deal with some of these premier athletes out there off the left side. He just cannot at this point. So I think you get a nice job by Falele. The defender kind of already is running through the B gap. You'll get the end zone angle so you can see what I'm talking about. Essentially, this defender here is kind of already running between Falele and Rosengarten, while this nose tackle, I think, is kind of stunting across Falele's face. So the way that works out, he ends up just pushing that defender out of the way, and Lamar squeezes through that gap between Linderbaum and Falele. Same play from the end zone angle, 3rd and 9, like I said. So I think this is a reaction to the initial 3rd down where Lamar had a little bit of an opportunity to throw the football and got it to Rasheen Ali. 6-man rush, like I said. Lamar's feet and lower half, I think, in this game at times are a little bit loose. I think that as he's processing the routes in front of him, he's still in his drop at times. Not necessarily specific to this play, and his lower half is getting a little bit loose because he's already anticipating before that right foot is finally in the ground, I think I'm going to have to get out of here. And you can't blame him sometimes in this situation specifically, but let's get back to Falele for a moment. Yes, he does spring this block on this defender. That defender is already running through the B gap with this nose tackle stepping to Linderbaum. So I misspoke a moment ago. He actually doesn't escape through B gap. It ends up being the frontside A gap. 13-yard gain by Lamar gets us inside the 5. I was really disappointed with our 1st and goal play calls. I think we had 4 of those situations. Maybe it was 3. But in any case, it seemed to be direct flow run concepts to Derrick Henry every time. They were unsuccessful, to my memory recall, in each case. We, of course, had to settle for a field goal there on that first drive, and we're now on to the second possession. This is going to be a 3rd and 6. I think Lamar throws this ball a little bit low to Hopkins. It's a 3-3 tie at this point. The Browns are playing man-free, and I think initially Lamar's looking down here to Andrews, kind of like a speed out. I don't even know who that guy is necessarily that's guarding him, to be honest with you. Number 7, I think. But Andrews is going to end up stumbling. And so, for whatever reason, Lamar, who is looking down here, like I said, doesn't decide to throw the football here. He kind of pump fakes, and I think he sees Andrews kind of stumbling. We're talking about Lamar in his throwing motion here, and Andrews clearly stumbling to the ground. So I guess that's why, we're not taking that option. But from the top side, a bunch formation, you have Likely underneath, and then Hopkins running over the top. So this is very Kansas City Chiefs-esque, where you've got like 2 in-breaking routes over the middle of the field when you think that you're going to get a man coverage. And Lamar, after the pump fake, his lower half is all messed up here, I think because Voorhees is kind of, just in front of him. So did that impact the throw from the standpoint of physical contact? No. Voorhees is not making physical contact with Lamar's lower half, up until the point where the ball is just out of his hands or maybe quickly thereafter. My point is, I think we need better pass pro. I think that's been something I've been banging the drum on for, 14, 15 months at this point. Lamar can throw this ball better, though. He can throw this ball better, in my opinion. Even with his lower half not being connected enough to the upper portion of his body. This is the same play from the end zone angle. When I do these quarterback film studies, I intentionally wait until Thursday. I would love to get them out on Thursday morning, but it's just not possible. But it's because I try to examine as many elements of the play as I can to present you guys with hopefully an in-depth look at each concept that we're trying to execute in this situation. So they are trying to create a one-on-one for Garrett by walking the Mike linebacker up over Linderbaum. And you can see Garrett's lined up over here, over Ronnie Stanley once again. We're not chipping. This is the same play, like I said, where, Andrews falls down or stumbles. Garrett trying some type of chop move, Euro step, whatever, and you can see Lamar is pump faking. And that draws all the attention of the Mike linebacker. I think he's actually in like a pseudo-spy alignment here, but this ball could be thrown better. In my opinion, Lamar's lower half is kind of cut out of this because he's not able to step into the throw at all. It's going to happen sometimes, in my opinion. We've got to make a better throw nonetheless. The question that I would have is, how often are those types of things happening? It's innocuous, perhaps. Are they happening too often? In my opinion, they are. Yours may be different. Certainly John Harbaugh and the Ravens offensive staff does not share our opinion. 3rd possession now after that failed 3rd and 6. Browns are up 6-3. And this is frustrating for me, man, because we've completed this so many times. It's 22 personnel, slot I. Likely's alignment kind of gives it away because he's so wide. And it's a clear out route by Zay Flowers. Okay, let me pull this back and just show you the route. So Zay is the orange route here, or dark brown, likely. It's kind of a sail concept, if you will. And it's built off of play action. But look, man, when we're in the eye and these guys go split flow, it's play action pass almost 100% of the time. Like, it's one of those things that if you're trying to scout a team, whether it's high school, college, or the NFL, you see split flows, play action, getting your drop. This inside linebacker is not going to be able to defend this route. So for me, this ball should be thrown, and it has been. We've had 12 or 15 of these completed, most of the time to Likely in the past 2 or 3 years. I'm talking about, since Todd Monken showed up. This has been a bread and butter out of 22 personnel, slot eye, where Likely, sometimes Andrews, I think we had one to Kolar maybe last year. So this one for me is one that, there is pressure that is being generated in front of Lamar. This ball, maybe he thinks the inside linebacker is going to be able to get some depth and deal with this route. I don't think so, number one. I guess there's also the factor of Denzel Ward, but he's being occupied by Zay Flowers on a deeper out. So to me, this ball could be out. We've definitely got an opportunity to throw the football here. Unfortunately, we end up taking a sack. This is the same play from the end zone angle, by the way. Here's Likely. And Garrett basically turns Rosengarten into like a grappling dummy on this one. It's the second time that he basically used this move on Rosengarten. As soon as Rosengarten's hands shoot out, he just basically clubs them off of him. I don't know what technique that is. Just basically, I'm better than you, period. And, as soon as you touch me, you're gone. I think that we have an opportunity to throw this football to Likely over the top of this inside linebacker. Maybe it's always layered, when we make these throws. And I guess maybe I should have. Sometimes when I do these videos, I'd like to include good versions of the play. So like when we have been able to complete it in the past, to try to make my point, which is, I think we've got an opportunity to throw the football here. We just got to get rid of it quickly. Of course, this is not ideal. That was a terrible outcome on a play that, could have been a completed pass or give us an opportunity for it. Absolutely, the next play is even worse, right? We go down 13-3. It's so crazy that Devin Bush is out there making plays. But this one should be caught, in my opinion. So as much as I'm willing to give Lamar a hard time or criticize him on the previous one, that I think we have an opportunity to throw it, Keaton Mitchell's got to catch this football. It's a screen into the boundary. Hopkins is going to go get the corner to that side. And, man, this is an opportunity for us to generate some yards on a 2nd and 19. Why? It's basically a glitch blitz type concept. So Delpit and this other DB from the top side are going to blitz, while these two defensive tackles are going to drop out. So they're going to touch or occupy the offensive line and then drop out of there. Of course, they're blitzing Garrett. Garrett's on an inside stunt path against Ronnie. So, there is going to be pressure if it's not a screen. If we're able to catch this football, we've got 1, 2 defensive tackles out in space with Keaton Mitchell, and we've got 2 lead blockers out in front. I think that we've got an opportunity here, to get something done with Voorhees working to 1 D tackle, Linderbaum working to a 2nd D tackle. No idea where Keaton's going to go. He's obviously going to go underneath of those 2 blocks. Unfortunate for us, it ends up popping up in the hands of Devin Bush, who, good for him that he's got a career resurgence here that's happening in Cleveland. I thought that, the film of him prior to Cleveland was such that he may not get another opportunity, but made a play against us and got a pick 6 that puts them up 13-6. Or 13-3, excuse me. We finally do get the ball and are able to get in the end zone on the 4th possession. This is the key play, in my opinion. This is after 2 straight runs by Henry, and it's a play-action concept. This is a great use of our personnel. So we got Zay on like the corner route. I think Andrews is going out into the flats, and there's a 3rd receiver up there. It's Ricard. Ricard is going to pin down on the defensive end. I would love to see more of this. The only thing is, in reality, with Ricard up there to the bunch and Tez Walker as the backside X, this is pass. So if anyone's paying attention on the defense pre-snap, I'm talking about on the field, not you guys listening and watching now, this is a pass play. We're not having Ricard out here on a run play. If we do, he's going to motion in and be a part of that. So maybe we've got to do that a couple of times to give the defense a different look. But this is a laser by Lamar, in my opinion. There is a lot of conflict put on Denzel Ward. First, it's Andrews in the flat, all right? Second, there is the threat of a run play away from him, but he's also got, Lamar booting out to his side. And then finally, Flowers streaking past over the top of his level, his depth, and then too far close to the sideline for this free safety. I think that's Hickman, who looks like an underrated guy to me. Really nice job on the defensive end by Ricard. Super physical. I think this is a little misleading, man. A lot of criticism on Zay. Zay's just changing direction. So, what gear is he in? I know I've got it slow motion, but what gear is Zay in versus what gear is Denzel Ward in right now? I mean, you're welcome to have your own answers. That's why I'm asking you. I would say Zay's in second or third gear here. Ward, to me, looks like he's starting to get into third or maybe trying to get into fourth. My point is, Zay had to change direction. Ward did not. Ward definitely accelerates and bursts, tracks him down, fine. Criticize Zay all you want. He put us inside the 5-yard line. You'd like to see him, get that in the end zone so we didn't have to worry about another red zone situation. Fortunately, Henry was able to punch it in, I think on a 3rd and goal to get us to within 13-10. Fifth possession here. The fifth possession, the Browns have taken a 16-10 lead at this point. We got a speed out up to the top side by Flowers. I think this ball is low by Lamar. I think he kind of dead legs this one, if you will, and the ball dips a little bit. It almost looks like a Tyler Huntley throw in the way the ball dips some in the last 3 to 4 to 5 yards before upon arrival to the receiver at least. And when I say dead leg, I'm talking about his front side leg here just appears to be deadened into the ground, and the whole backside is just paused, the hip, the shoulder, and everything, and that's what causes the ball to maybe dip. It's a drop, okay? I'm saying it's a drop, but my point is, if we're trying to seriously evaluate Lamar here, which I am, to the best of my abilities, then I think we've got to admit this ball is low. And the unfortunate thing is, on the very next snap, we get another sack. I think it's by Myles Garrett. It seemed like things in this game with Garrett, bad things happened either before or after he was able to generate a sack. So this is 2nd and 10 after that incompletion, the drop by Flowers. And we're motioning likely across. My guess is, just trying to either sift out the coverage. But in any case, the dynamic that happens here, I think, is interesting and tells you a little bit about how Lamar is operating or how his flow is being interrupted in 2025. Garrett's going to get upfield against Ronnie Stanley. He's getting upfield. Like I said, this is 2nd and 10, so it's a speed rush. He's out of the way. Call that a win for Ronnie if you want. Sure, fine. I don't care. Hey, Garrett is a pain to deal with. He's awful when you can see him in front of you pre-snap like this. I wonder what Lamar's thinking when he can't see him. And that's what concerns me when you watch this. He gets a little bit jittery here, and a part of me wants to say I can't blame him. He's got likely, possibly, to throw underneath of this zone. Flowers working across. I have to pause the video at times. You guys hopefully understand why at this point. It gives me a little bit of freedom to run the playback multiple times and let people see stuff. That's why I'm using some slow motion, but that's why I'm going with slow motion at times. But this guy's already moving in this direction. Maybe if you want to be critical, you're like, hey, get off your read quicker, throw it to Flowers underneath, but it's zone. And Flowers is running underneath of the zone on a 2nd and 10, like I said before. So it doesn't matter to me that we're not getting rid of the football to Flowers underneath. Maybe on a 2nd and 10, we'd say we want to get rid of this thing quicker to likely, and Lamar possibly being too hungry. I don't necessarily think so, but nonetheless, it does end up in a sack that creates a 3rd and 12, which is is never good for us to have a 3rd and 12 against Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Browns. So here is the aforementioned 3rd and 12, and we are gonna chip with likely against Garrett, who spot shadowed there in blue. There's a irregular Tampa 2, basically, that the Browns are playing. So you've got a flat defender, Mike linebacker who's running between the hashes. And what's irregular about it to me isn't the topside guy. The topside corner is Ward, and he would be the flat defender by alignment and post-snap in the Tampa 2. It's that they're pushing the nickel out into the flats and then rolling this corner to depth to be a half-field defender along with this safety, and then dropping the actual safety down to be one of the 4 underneath droppers. I would say we've got an irregular Tampa 2. Lamar's feet are loose here, in my opinion. He's already kind of out of his rhythm sooner than he needs to be. I'm talking about during his drop. We're very skippy for a moment. Too much time with the cleats in the air right here, in my opinion. And then kind of understepping with the left foot. It's a zone, so it's a 3rd and 12. Credit to the Browns for switching ideas, or concepts, I'm sorry, and going away from man stuff. I just don't think that we are putting Lamar and our passing game in a good situation by an inordinate number of our passes being A, in obvious passing situations, and B, resulting with our franchise quarterback getting hit as he throws or just thereafter. So it's a Tampa 2. We chip Garrett, 4-man rush, and we still end up with Lamar taking a shot at the end of it. There is a little bit of a dynamic here that pisses me off some, meaning Garrett's a monster. And it seems innocuous, I'm sure, to some of you that I'm going to belabor this point a little bit. It's a 3rd and long. We complete it underneath. We have to punt. Fine. It's going to happen, plenty of times. I don't know if it depends on your mentality on a given day. Do you want to piss off the monster or not? And so for me, I'd like to see us do so. That's just my mentality and the way that I played and coached and the way I was introduced to the sport. I do want to give credit to the Browns. I think that they're possibly calling this stunt on the field, but there's you don't see any visual communication between these guys. But the fact that Garrett and Collins happen to be in the exact stunt they need to be against this pass pro, and what I mean is you've got running back, tight end on the same side as Garrett. Of course, he's going to get chipped by someone. So my guess is this will be a closed call, meaning we're closed. We've got a tight end here, and so we've got an opportunity to make a stunt, whatever the call is. In this case, he's going underneath. Collins is kind of jab stepping or juking to the left, and he's just holding Voorhees as long as possible. Not physically holding him, but occupying him with his stunt to the inside, with that step to the inside. And that all it does is widen Voorhees up. There's a little bit of contact with the face mask. But all it does is widen Voorhees up a little bit such that Garrett can get through there. Look at the attention that Garrett is getting, but he's going on a path we didn't expect. My point in talking about what type of mood you're in on a given day, at some point, if I'm an offensive lineman, I want to take a shot at guys like this. Now, you may say, well, man, you piss a guy like that off and he goes into Superman mode. He's already in that mode. And I just don't know that I see that at all from anyone here. I'm not saying it has to happen on this play. I'm not saying it needs to occur at the end of this play with Garrett on the ground. What I'm describing to you is some type of mentality shift or someone on the offensive line basically being a little bit nasty and wanting to protect our quarterback, because right now they're not. I'm not recommending on this particular play taking a cheap shot against Myles Garrett. I'm saying from a foundational standpoint, no one on our offensive line seems to have the perspective. Well, we didn't chip him a ton. We did on this possession, this particular play, and still didn't work. Push him, shove him, occasionally double him, cut him. If you say you don't want to piss off the Giant, that means you really don't want to be there to fight with him. And in my opinion, the Ravens right now on the offensive side, because our offensive line doesn't have fight, we can't really establish ourselves sometimes against the better defenses in the league. Any case, let's move to the third quarter a little bit. I think I got 5 more plays. So it's a 3rd and 3, very disappointing. We're going sprint out away from Garrett. It's obvious why we're calling this play, trying to get away from him, right? And make him not be able to impact the game as much. So Ronnie recognizes it because, he knows the concept. He knows where Garrett is, so he'll peel back and he'll try to deal with Garrett. Garrett actually chops in the middle of the play. Super athletic move, obviously, to get away from Ronnie and then be a part of the secondary pressure. No one's open at all right? I recognize that. They've jammed things up a little bit. Lamar, maybe trying to think about getting the ball to Likely, but Delpit could undercut this, number one. Number two, Flowers, because of all the traffic in the bunch, wasn't able to give himself an opportunity. Lamar looks like he's settling his feet for a moment to throw the football here, possibly but 94 is right in the lane. And you'll get the end zone angle so you can see it. Mason Graham, the rookie. Garrett finishes us off. I wonder where 94 came from. It's not too hard to figure out, right, when I actually shut up for once, where 94 is dealing with. We are operating at an extreme deficit, trying to protect our quarterback with a guy who cannot execute consistently at this level. And it's been something that I've been complaining about for a long time. Probably people on the channel are sick of it. I know people on Twitter and the Ravens Discord are. There's just no way that we can keep up with asking our quarterback to take this number of hits. And of course, he didn't practice on Wednesday, but let's move forward a little bit. Couple of completions or targets of Mark Andrews, and then I'll give you some of my summary thoughts. This is a 3rd and 4. It's going to be complete to Andrews. We actually do kind of try to chip Garrett into a wheel with Keaton Mitchell, which is very unusual, very unique, I should say. In any case, it's an add-on blitz by the Browns. So Delpit is assigned to guard Ricard, and he will see Ricard pass proing, literally like an offensive lineman. Out here on the defensive end, I think that's 57. And then since Delpit identifies that, he's going to become an add-on rusher. Really cool play from a Browns perspective in that, they're playing man, but Delpit becomes an add-on rusher. I love stuff like that because, what is it? Is it a 5-man rush scheme? Is it a 6-man rush scheme? In any case, it's a nice completion from Andrews on, what I would call a snag wheel with an over concept attached to it. Same play from the all-22 angle. Andrews spot shadowed up here. Garrett again on the bottom side of the screen facing off against first Mitchell, and then Ronnie Stanley left tackle. It's chip into a wheel by Mitchell, and then a snag or pick by Hopkins really is what we're talking about. We've beat them on this before, starting in 2023 with I think Melvin Gordon against JOK, right? So you can see Mitchell kind of trying to get his hands out and at least give Garrett something to hesitate on for a moment. You can see one move, and then a second one. He's got a path to Lamar. Maybe really great play, a concept at least, that it gives a fence. It's a light fence, something that Garrett can deal with easily, but it gives him a fence to deal with or have to run around before he's presented with Ronnie Stanley. Really cool design. I like the play. I remember when we first started using it in 2021, I was a little bit confused by it because sometimes this route here would get a little bit more depth, and the later over-developing route would kind of end up nearby to each other. In this particular case, Hopkins is obviously sitting down to just be a pick or a screen and possibly allow Mitchell to be an option a little bit later in the play. Last one that we'll talk about here, we're into the 9th possession, one that, I think I'm disappointed by because, Lamar probably puts this in a location where the DB can make a play, but it's a nice turn by Hickman, if you ask me. So it's a 3rd down, 3rd and goal, and we're down by 6 points. And that's what kind of bothers me a little bit. Ali, somewhat similar to release to the first 3rd down that I showed you in the course of this video. Garrett is one-on-one with Ronnie Stanley, and it's just too long to expect Andrews to get all the way across the field on this route with Stanley being one-on-one. So we're not chipping him. We're not doubling him at all. And that, to me, it seemed like we did that often. More often, we left him one-on-one than we actually tried to chip him or double him. So here's Andrews, and it's Hickman, like I said, who really made a nice move somewhere around in this area. So Hickman is verbally he's making a signal, but he's verbally communicating something. And then he'll take over Andrews, turn and go. Almost looks like he starts to trip over Ward's foot for a moment. And Lamar throws this thing in a position where, Hickman's the guy who makes a play on the ball. He has an opportunity to get an interception. A little disappointing for me that Lamar would throw this football, but again, we're being put in I don't want to say a no-win situation often, but we're being put in a low-win situation from a Lamar Jackson standpoint. I actually had 3 more plays queued up, but I think you guys get the point or what my perspective is. Number 1, are there things that Lamar Jackson could have done better? Of course. Were there throws in certain locations? The 3rd down that was low to or the 1st and 10 speed out to Flowers that I think was a little bit low. The throw to Hopkins on a 3rd down that was unusual, where his lower half was basically taken away from him. That particular throw / decision to Hickman, intended for Andrews, that Hickman, had an opportunity to intercept. Yes, absolutely. But I don't think that we're doing right by him and the whole offense in its entirety. In my opinion, Monken is adjusting and playing a little bit more conservative style because of the limitations of the offensive line. If you're at this point, if you're tuning into my videos and I'm going to talk about the offense, I am going to belabor the point about the offensive line. It is a huge point of criticism for me, and it's a structural weakness in the foundation of what the Baltimore Ravens put out in 2025, and I want to go even further, 2024 as well. Some of us were talking about this early in 2024, mid-season 2024, on into the latter stages, and even the playoff game. Yes, I'm talking about the playoff loss to the Bills, where we generated a ton of yards, particularly in the second half. We had trouble blocking them in the first half. Their defensive line, I'm talking about the playoff loss in Buffalo in the AFC divisional round last year. That drum has been beating for 14 to 15 months on this channel and by people in the Ravens Discord who actually watch the film and are able to say, hey, there's a lot of things that we just can't execute. In my opinion, that is the limiting factor. I don't think Lamar Jackson is suddenly less athletic. Yes, he's injured or dealing with something. Didn't practice on Wednesday. As I record this, hopefully he's going to practice later today on Thursday. In any case, you guys are more than welcome to let me know if you think I'm being too much of a homer or I'm not balanced enough in my criticism of Lamar Jackson specifically. I think I presented some examples and an illustration here that I'm willing to do so, and I have been willing to do so for years, even though he's my absolute favorite player in the NFL. In my opinion, right now, we're putting him in low-win situations that he can sometimes fight his way out of. Of course, he's done that throughout his career in the NFL, college, and even before. But right now, we need some type of change for 2025, whether it's offensive line, whether it's our approach and our strategy to dealing with how we approach possessions and parts of the game. We're fortunate right now that our defense is playing the quality and the brand of defense in terms of holding people down, yards and points, that gives us an opportunity to possibly switch gears to a more conservative style. In any case, I recognize that some people will have their own opinions to this. I welcome any and all comments in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comment section. I would love to have these out sooner during the week. Thursday gives me an opportunity to be as comprehensive as possible in my analysis, criticism, and the plays that I present in a particular order. Appreciate you guys' time.